So it's 2025, and we're definitely feeling and seeing that people are tired. From AI hype fatigue to all the global uncertainty going on, be it economical, geopolitical, or ecological, even the most forward-thinking professionals seem to be wrestling with burnout. At the same time, massive opportunities still exist if we're able to rethink not just how we're working, but why we're working. During this episode, we hope to deliver some value by offering a reframe path forward for listeners personally and professionally.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Looking Forward, Season 2, Episode 5, From Burnout to Breakthrough, Rewriting the Future of Work.
I think we should start with a stat because we love to throw a stat in. So let's start with this one. It's very current. In 2025, nearly 50% of employees are reporting feeling overwhelmed by the pace of change at work. This is a sharp increase from just 36% 2 years ago. 1 in 3 workers say that they're actively disengaging from their company's transformation initiatives because they're fearing that new technologies are undermining their job security or personal well-being.
That's profound.
Yeah, it's a sad number. It's a big number.
Why do you think that is?
I think the term burnout often just people assume that burnout means their mental capacity is burnt out, but really it's also about the amount they're disengaged. With the recent emergence of new technologies and fear of losing their job, they're feeling less engaged in what they've done because there's a little bit of questioning the value of the work they provide, if that value is going to be replaced or taken away from them. It's not just about feeling burned out or tired, it's feeling disconnected from the job you do or the organization as a whole. People are feeling left behind by the recent conversations going on about this urgency around replacement or automating or using AI in whatever capacity, and feeling really disconnected from the vision of the company or what its objectives might be, because it doesn't feel like it's about the people anymore. It does feel very much more based on technology.
Yeah, I can see that. They're seeing the headlines, right? All the layoffs. Yeah. And they're thinking, am I next?
I think a lot of people are really questioning the value of their work and their contributions, and that makes it hard to stay motivated or feel like you're on the positive end of change, for sure.
Last episode, we talked about folks who are literally trying to sabotage the implementation of AI in particular. It speaks to a lot of different things. If you're a middle manager in a large organization and you're seeing that technology is coming and a lot of the tasks that you were doing can now be automated in an effective way, you do have 2 ways of looking at it. When we talked about that 31% of folks who are sabotaging the implementation of AI, we didn't talk about the 69% who are not. In that 69%, there's a lot of very optimistic, positive folks who are less likely to be part of the layoffs when they actually happen because they're being proactive. They're learning how to incorporate AI into what they're doing, maybe transform what their role is into what their role will be in the future. So I think what we want to talk about in this episode is going from burnout to breakthrough and providing some context to have a discussion around that change in your mentality, that change of perception. So that's what we're tackling on this episode.
Well, I think if we're talking about that, probably one of the more obvious ones is just the overall feeling of system overload. We're in a state where everything is constantly transforming. You know, there's digital transformation, organizational, plus you're always expected to be developing and growing in your role. It feels like every day we're always trying to keep up, whether at the organizational level or below. Everything just feels so urgent. The pace at which technology is moving is just so fast. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. One tool that is useful in this context is contrasting the promise of technology with the pressure that it's placing on us, right? So I think we can fall into that trap of getting a little bit blindsided by the pressure. And then we lose sight of the promise that the technology has in the first place. When we look at the difference between those who are thinking, I'm going to break through as opposed to I'm burning out, those folks are able to hold on to the promise and continuously focus on getting there instead of focusing on the pressure. Whatever you focus on is what you become. So focusing on the benefit and the future state of your role, organization, team for your customers, and how the innovation is going to bring about a better experience for everyone, and building that experience as opposed to focusing on the pressure you might feel because this technology is coming along. And now the way I used to do things is probably not going to be the way that I should be doing things moving forward.
Yeah, I get that. And I think it's easier said than done. That's why it's hard for people, because it's very forward looking. Maybe what people are missing is focusing on the small wins along the way, or stopping to notice those incrementally better changes that are happening that aren't so transformative or huge. If we stop to appreciate those moments, it might put things in perspective. A lot of companies are talking about this optimal future state. And if you just keep going, everything's going to be so much better. But there are little things along the way that are incrementally changing as a result of implementing AI in your own work or at the organizational level that maybe are just worth celebrating a little bit more or sharing more openly. And I think that also comes back to the sabotage piece, right? Like a lot of people are afraid to admit they're using AI in their roles because of the perception of it and seeming like they're doing less because AI is doing more. But at the same time, if you were to just reframe that, you're actually doing a better job because you've learned how to use AI to your advantage, right? So it doesn't always need to be just focusing on the future and hoping we'll get there. There are things that you can stop and celebrate along the way.
In my most recent newsletter post, which if you haven't signed up yet for my newsletter, it's alejandrojagerman.com. You can sign up. In my latest post, I talk about the importance of not focusing so much on the magic, but focusing on the actual movement when it comes to AI implementation and innovation. Because the magic is what's scary. The magic is the unknown. As you were saying, it's like the dream outcome and future state. Nobody really knows how we get there, but we understand that the power of the technology is there to get us there. But focusing on that magic is very scary because it's very hard for anybody to understand how they fit into that. How can they make progress towards that on a day-to-day basis? So focusing on the small wins that are showing some movement and progress in the implementation of this technology, in the case of AI, can help people find footing in this transformation, keep their eye on the prize, but without feeling overwhelmed or as much pressured as like, oh, we need to get from 0 to 100 tomorrow.
Even just something as easy as like starting a community of interest group around AI and letting people share ways they're using it in their role and making it common practice is a really easy way to fight through that negativity.
Okay, Jen, it's time to get a little more personal.
Okay.
What are you doing differently at Ampersand
To manage burnout?
to help turn burnout into breakthroughs?
I think for us, because we're virtual first, using Slack as our office is kind of key. Like having multiple channels for which people can communicate on various levels of serious topics. We have a lot of channels that encourage people to share what they're learning or what they're seeing in the news and what have you, which is great for, learning and encouraging people to stay, I guess, abreast of what's going on out there in the world and stay informed. But then we also have some channels that are less serious, just a way for people to feel a little more connected outside of just the project that they're working on. It's Mental Health Awareness Month right now. So we're doing initiatives to keep people informed about the importance of mental health and checking in on one another. A little less technical in nature, but I think still relevant and important to do. In our recent meeting, we brought up the topic of mental health awareness. One of the bullets included on that slide in that discussion was reminding people that AI is there to help you.
How do you manage your energy and creativity?
I listen to podcasts. When I'm on the way to the office, I have to listen to a podcast now, or else I just don't feel as inspired for the day ahead. It's a nice way to just turn off my brain from thinking and just listen. And I think that allows me to come into work with a fresher perspective. Usually I've just learned something that will motivate me to get through that day.
That's great. When we're in a transformation period, I think the best way to manage energy and focus and creativity, to me, is all about optimism, right? And I think, it's kind of obvious in my stance here, generally speaking. I'm more on the breakthrough side than on the burnout side. I think it's understandable for folks to get burned out for the right reasons. But I also think we have the ability as humans to change our paradigms. I believe a lot of the burnout we see now is from a place of confusion, is from a place of maybe misinformation, is from a place of lack of information. There's been little, compared to the amount of impact and investment in the AI transformation of businesses, there hasn't been that much thoughtful communication guidance provided to all the members of these organizations. There's a few who are in that bus working on that pilot, driving the future of the organization. The vast majority of the individuals are being provided very little guidance on where are we headed, what's going on, how is it going to happen. And I think that puts them in a situation where they're going to feel burnout, because I feel like ignorance is burnout, and not it's their choice. I put the responsibility on the organization and leadership when it comes to the fact that there's not enough guidance, there's not enough communication to keep folks informed and empowered to understand where they fit within this transformation, where the organization is at in this transformation. And therefore, they're feeling the burnout. Communicate, over-communicate. That's going to help keep your team motivated. It's going to help your team focus on what that dream state could be and that incremental progress we're making towards that dream state, and feel less burned out. And also, like, their energy can make these implementations successful.
I think leaders underestimate the power they have in setting the tone through their actions. If it's not from burnout and feeling disengaged or feeling like their work doesn't have a value, it's also the tone from the top being this always on mentality. If you're really championing AI in a positive regard, it should be more about doing what matters and doing that well versus needing to produce more. It's less about volume and more about doing the work that really matters.
Yeah. I also want to call out the individual members of the organizations and not just the leadership, because in a lot of cases, the organization is not communicating and they're not providing the guidance. In some cases, they are providing communication and guidance.
But it also needs to be positive. All these mandates are making it so scary.
Well, yeah, whether or not something is scary is, as long as it's not like a physical threat of, like, you know, your safety or whatnot.
That's about their job safety.
Yeah, but it's still a matter of perception. It's a natural human inclination to not look at the scary thing, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people in these organizations that the communication is happening. They're getting emails, there's videos, but they don't want to see it because they already feel like it's scary and I don't want to think about it. A lot of folks have to step out of their comfort zones and say, hey, things are going to change. I can't be in denial about it. So I need to open up, go out there, try to find the information that is being provided by your organization. And if it's not provided, ask for it, you know? And what's the worst thing that could happen? They say, we're not actually doing anything yet. Then you could say, I have an idea. Maybe you could be the person that tips the scale and helps your organization move into the future, because maybe they didn't actually have a plan. But you might be that spark they needed to get things moving forward, start that first pilot, do that first experiment or A/B test.
That's true. All right. I want to close this out with a question. What is one mindset shift, habit, or tech tool that you would recommend to listeners to help them feel re-engaged?
Great question. I actually have an answer for each one of those things. Number one, mindset shift. From burnout to micro moments of joy. Instead of waiting for the next vacation or weekend to reset, why not shift our mindset towards daily micro recovery? Think a 10-minute walk without a device, a phone call with a friend, or even pausing to notice light or nature. Okay? This shift has been championed in performance psychology and is now being integrated into like all the leadership coaching literature. Small, meaningful pauses can compound into greater focus and energy. Burnout isn't from doing too much. It's from doing too little of what makes you feel alive. That's mindset shift. Number two, the habit. Ritual to reflect on the past week and ask the following questions. Number one, what gave me energy this week? Number two, what drained me this week? And number three, what do I want to do differently next week? This habit not only improves self-awareness, but also surfaces small course corrections. It's a leadership tool masquerading as a wellness check-in. One tool, which was really great for the time that I needed it, is Reclaim.ai. This is an AI tool, obviously. You connect to your calendar, Google Calendar. I think it also works with Microsoft and then it'll manage your calendar for you. You set the priorities, habits, and it will adjust your calendar. So if somebody needs to move one of your meetings, it'll negotiate that new date, that new time based on what things are important to you. So, it's the whole thing about, you have a big bucket, big rocks and little rocks. And big rocks are the important things. You put in the big rocks first and then the little rocks. Most of you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, hit me up and I'll send you the link. Reclaim.ai. That's a tool that I recommend, something that can help you reclaim your balance, reclaim your energy, make small wins of accomplishments that will help put you in this mood where you can focus on breaking through and not so much on burning out.
That's a good one.
What about you, Jen?
Well, I think one of the biggest mindset shifts is to think about what you can control. When it comes to feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, it's easy to focus on everything that's going on, and you can feel very out of control. Focusing on the things within your own power or control to navigate or change is really helpful and can put things into perspective. I would also say that from a habit, at the beginning of each week, take a look at your calendar and see which appointments or meetings don't need to be there. You at least have one meeting in your calendar that you know you're going to come out of having no benefit, and cancel it. Getting a little bits of time back can do a lot for controlling how burnt out you feel. Those are my recommendations. Make a conscious effort to have a coffee chat with one of your colleagues. And even if it's 10 minutes, just talk about something other than work. It can feel really nice to have a friend to connect with outside of just jumping from one serious work call to another.
Yeah, I love that. That's good for you and good for them.
Yeah.
So you're also spreading that wellness across the organization. I love that idea. That's great.
Yeah. And tech tool, I would say whatever meeting platform you're using, turn on the AI note taker. Let AI do the work and take notes and help you remember what the conversation was about, what action items you have to follow up on. Make your life easier.
Nice. Cool.
That's it. Yeah.